is Eric O'Neill, and this is my persuasive speech. Voting. The action that makes a democracy a democracy. It's essential to the running of any country that actually counts as a democracy, or democratic republic, as the case may be. And yet a huge percentage of American citizens don't vote. According to the Pew Research Center in 2016, only 55.7% of eligible adults actually went to the polls. Why? Some people claim their vote doesn't matter. Many can't find a candidate they like. Others said they can't afford to take time off work. These are all problems we should address in time, but the issue that can be addressed most easily is Election Day itself. Election Day is the first Tuesday after the first Monday in November, because of course it is. Chris Rock summed up the problem amusingly when he said, quote, "They don't want you to vote. If they did, we wouldn't vote on a Tuesday. In November. You ever throw a party on a Tuesday? No, because nobody would come," end quote. He seems to have a point. Election Day is just scheduled for an awkward time, and it's an incredibly important part of the fabric of our society. So why do we vote on Tuesday? Many people, even elected officials, don't have a clue. We currently vote on Tuesday in order to allow farmers in 1845 to get to and from their polling place without having to travel on the Sabbath, which in horse and buggy days could be a day-long trip. But now we have cars, and paved roads, and local polling locations. We no longer have to worry about traveling for 12 hours and missing church if we want to vote. So we can easily move Election Day to a weekend, or, barring that, we can make it a national holiday. Now, this is not a partisan issue. According to a 2018 Pew poll, 71% of Democrats and 59% of Republicans favor the idea of making Election Day a national holiday. This would allow people to vote at their leisure, instead of trying to cram carrying out their civic duty in the morning before work, or waiting until the evening when they're on their way home. The current system means a huge percentage of voters are all trying to manage voting into their busy schedule at the same time. So voting in either the morning or the evening means waiting in a long line, sometimes for hours, and potentially missing work in the process. Pretty much everyone who votes has felt the frustration of waiting in line for an eternity in order to participate in a process that takes less time than the speech to complete. These lines are an unnecessary obstacle to the voting process. It's 2019, and all Americans should find voting accessible. Making it easier to vote means more participation in the process of electing our leaders. In June of 2019, according to a Gallup poll, Congress had a 78% disapproval rating, while only 19% approved. How do we fix a problem like that? By voting in greater numbers. If we can get greater numbers of Americans voting, our leadership will more closely reflect the values and priorities of our citizenry. According to the United States Census Bureau survey in 2016, 14.3% of people who are registered to vote but didn't cited busy schedules as their primary reason for not going to the polls. This may not seem like many, but understand that trends are often self-reinforcing. The fewer people unable to vote, the more politicians have to care about what the people think. The more politicians have to reflect on what our citizens value most, the more Americans will feel invested in the political process, as opposed to feeling left out. It's natural to want to be heard, while feeling ignored has a stifling effect on our discourse. So, removing as many obstacles as we can is good for the health of our society. Kristen Clark, President and Executive Director of Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under the Law, puts it this way, quote, "More working mothers, more young people, more low-income workers with long hours, more of our emergency personnel are all constituents who would see participating in higher rates if Election Day were a holiday," end quote. Growing up, I was continuously told that America was a world leader, that our country was exceptional, and that the land of the free is seriously lagging behind other developed nations in voter turnout. As a member of the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, America ranked 26 out of 32 in voter participation in 2016, according to Statista. We need to do better than this. A big part of that will be making it easier to vote. Busse Tremitiere, editor-in-chief of the Northwestern University Law Review, makes a good point. Quote, "The demands of school and work schedules keep millions of Americans, especially those with children or long commutes, from ever getting to their polling stations. Countless other students and workers who do manage to cast their ballots would love to be even more involved in the process, whether by driving elderly neighbors to the polls, helping illiterate voters understand their ballots, or serving as a poll watcher to deter foul play, but can't afford to skip class or take off a shift, end quote. If we as citizens want to shine a light on the values of the United States and show that we're not willing to lag behind other nations, making Election Day a national holiday would be a good step. So improve our democracy by contacting your representatives. We owe it to ourselves. Thank you.